Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. I am Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there is Dave Hyatt. What's going on, my brother?
I got to say, as well as Jakob Ingebrigtsen ran at the meet in Eugene, he ran on Tuesday, 2 days afterwards. He ran his first ever beer mile at his bachelor party. The guy ran 5:22 after running 3:43, 7:23 traveling all the way back. That might be his most impressive feat of that whole.
I'm disappointed. Got to be sub 5 or broke.
Come on.
I expect
he just traveled all the way back.
Hold your beer. That means he's just not chugging beer fast enough. That's all that tells me is Jakob needs to work on his beer chugging technique. We need to get him to a college in America.
It was his bachelor
party. Let him learn
party.
a little something.
It was his own bachelor party.
Yes, we don't know how wasted he actually was when he did it. So we'll maybe we'll give Jakob a break there. But yes, congratulations to Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Before we get into all the fun stuff, today's Monday, September 25th of 2023, episode 57 for those keeping score at home. If you like what you hear today, give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, wherever you are. Rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth, because if you're listening to this, then you're a running fan, or you're family of me and Dave. But either way, if you're listening to this, you are a running fan, and you need to start telling everyone, hey, if you like podcasts, there's a really good one. They have great guests. One of the hosts, he kind of sucks, but Dave Hyatt's pretty cool. But, we'll just get this word of mouth. We want to be the biggest running podcast on the planet. So let's get this done and go follow us on socials at Talking in Ovals. So before we get into PRs, which we have some this week, which is awesome, I want to talk about last week's show real quick, Dave. Every time we have a high schooler on, she's our third high schooler. They're amazing. This generation is incredible. I'd be a bumbling idiot if I was talking when I was in high school.
They have amazing insight and just they're so well spoken. And I don't know if it's because they grew up in this age with the internet and everything, but man, they are just on fire. They're on point.
So we're talking about Peyton Hollis. She was on last week. She's a senior over at Union Catholic High School in New Jersey. Absolute national powerhouse. She's one of the top runners in the state and, in the country. So great episode. Go back and listen to that. And like I said, we have some PBs, PRs, whatever you want to call them. Coming in from our good buddy, Coach Tefelsky over at Westfield. He competed this week at Bowdoin Park, right in my backyard over here in Poughkeepsie. I think some people consider it Wappingers Falls. I don't care. It's Poughkeepsie. And they ran incredible. The team themselves averaged 16:22 at Bowdoin, which is a school record by 26 seconds. The fourth fastest team ever from New Jersey at Bowdoin. All the other three were CBA. So what that means is they're actually the fastest because they're the best public school to ever do it. We don't count those parochials. I'm kidding, Sean. Congrats to CBA because CBA also had an absolutely monster race over at Bowdoin too. But over there for Westfield, Avery Keith got a big old PR. He ran a 16:03 school record over there at Bowdoin. And then also Jimmy Gildea had a over minute PR running a 16:16. So congratulations to Westfield doing all things. They're top guys. And if you're listening and you have a PR, send it our way. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about you guys. Like we've always said, don't care how fast it is. Don't care how slow it is. If it's a PR, we all know the same pain. We all worked our asses off before. Send it to us. We want to give you a shout out. So now we're going to get into meat and potatoes of the show, what everyone came here for, because we have some really cool guests. And I want to thank some of our guys, Steve Slatterini and Han, for being able to, talk about this, hook this up, because this is really fun for us. We have a twin brother duo that is with us, and you'd be hard pressed to ever find siblings in running as successful as the two. First, we have Ed Torres. He's a 3-time Foot Locker finalist, 2001 cross-country team champion with Colorado University, 4-time United States XC World Team member, 1-time USA Track and Field Marathon team member, and he's also married with the father of 2 kids. And not to be outdone there, his brother, Jorge, not George, don't you dare say George, Jorge Torres. He is a 3-time Illinois XC state champ, 4-time Foot Locker finalist, All-American, 1998 champion of the race, 2001 XC team champion with Colorado, 2002 XC champion on his own, NCAA XC champion, 2006 USATF 10K champion, and a 2008 US Olympian in 10K. Gentlemen, he's also married to 2 children. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having us on the show.
Thanks, Dave and Alex, for having us. This is exciting. Yeah, we're still here. Just a little bit older and slower, but we're here.
You know what's fun?
Aren't we all?
Because I sit there and you guys have amazing resumes, and as have a lot of our guests have had incredible resumes. I never get tired of taking the time to, in the beginning, to read off all your accomplishments. And there's some of our guests that'll give us 2 or 3 things, and then I look and I'm like, absolutely not. I'm going to mention a ton of things you have. So you guys are awesome. And like I said, I can't remember, Dave, you're much more of a textbook than I am when it comes to track and XC and things. To your knowledge, have we had a sibling duo be as successful as these two? I think it's we need a historian. Where's Jim Lambert? Where's Jeff Benjamin? We need to talk to those guys. See if we can get some of the historians.
I mean, of siblings who are also twins, I cannot think of anyone who's even in the same ballpark.
Yeah. So, guys, it is an absolute privilege to have you on. Now, I want to start off where we always start off with our guests. And, Jorge, since I introduced Ed first, I'm going to start with you. And you guys can kind of both chime in as you want. We always ask right away, where did the spark start? Because most people don't want to be runners, right? A lot of people, they grow up, they want to be football players, baseball players, soccer players.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it's I'm really fast. I'm kind of not great at this sport, but I'm really good. I did 1 season of track. So where was your spark in order to say, you know what, I'm a runner, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life?
Well, I mean, the initial introduction to running started with gym class, probably most just like anybody else. And that wasn't the spark that got me going to where I eventually ended, but it was definitely an introduction. I would say ultimately my spark was different probably from Ed's. Was I was in 6th grade. It was actually my first season of running cross country, and our junior high was in Illinois. There's actually a state meet for junior high kids.
Wow,
cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And I went to MacArthur Junior High in Prospect, Illinois. I grew up in Wheeling, but we just happened to be in that district. And MacArthur had a strong tradition of having strong teams, especially in the female going up. They won several state titles, but never in the men's side. So my 6th grade year, a huge class of 8th graders were there, and they ended up cutting me off the team and putting all the 8th graders to compete for the state meet. And I really kind of just lit a fire in my ass to do better. And the guy who cut me was a guy named Greg Fedesky, who was my mentor, my lifelong mentor, who has passed away since. But he really did I guess whether it was intentionally done or not, he lit a fire in my ass, and I ended up going over and realizing that I wanted more. And then that winter I ended up running the TAC. Speaking about aging yourself,
I ran TAC too.
Yeah, Athletic Congress. There we go, Dave. Oh, yeah. You know what you're talking about.
I ran TAC. Yep.
We were talking earlier about Blocker and Kinney. So, when you age yourself, you age yourself.
Yeah.
So, but TAC was now, as everybody knows, USA Track and Field, Junior Olympics. And I ended up winning the national championship for it's what they call the midget division, age 11. In Mobile, Alabama. And
I was at that race. I was at Mobile, Alabama.
I am.
I was at that race in Mobile, Alabama. I ran the youth. I think I was 18th or something. But wow, I had no idea.
You crossed paths
at Mobile you were at Mobile, Alabama. I was there. I remember going. That was my first. I won. I got 3rd in states. I won regionals, and then I went out there to Mobile. That's so cool.
That's it. So there we go. Who would have thought?
And then the next year it was at
next year was in
Reno.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. The year before it was in like a Sandy, Oregon.
And so that was before my time of the running world.
Yeah.
I was still thinking about being a basketball player or a football.
I was at that race. That is so cool.
Yeah. So that's that. That's the roundabout way of how all of a sudden it just took off from there. And and I won that. I won that title in Mobile, Alabama, and from there the rest is history, guys. Sort of say.
That's awesome. So Ed, same question to you. Where did that spark start with you?
Well, similar like with George. Sorry,
That's why he calls me George because he doesn't.
Sorry, yes. So let's put it this way. He's my brother. I'm going to call him.
You can call him whatever you want.
He's out of kid. I call him George. I'm not going to call him Jorge. I'm sorry. That's not going to happen.
That's okay.
So I guess I'm the only one I can call him George, I guess. But so we're in so we're there in 6th grade, and we both ran cross country in the fall with Greg Fedusky, and I just didn't like it. I was like, this is painful. I don't see the fun in this, and I'm gonna go try wrestling. As soon as the season was over, I didn't care much for being on a team, the 7th or 8th grade team. I was just doing it for fun, and so like I went to go try wrestling, and Jorge was doing tack during that time, and the exact moment that I remember getting the spark was when I got the call that George had won, and my dad is like, my mom was like, "Mom, let's go pick up your dad and your brother at the airport," and I was like, "Nah, not really." He's like, "No, let's go pick them up." So I went with my mom to go pick up my dad and George, and I remember him coming down the escalator with his little grin in his face and his little his trophy. And I was like, gosh dang it, like if this guy can do this, I can do this too. So, I was like, I'm gonna be determined to catch up and do as good as Jorge did and just be as good as he is. So that was like the exact moment I realized that I wanted to be at that level as well.
That's awesome.
That is the most sibling thing I ever heard.
Yeah,
and I love every single moment of it. But that's also cool, right? Because like I have a sister that's 4 years older, a brother that's 8 years younger. So it's like I never had that consistent drive and motivation that I'd imagine twins, especially athletic twins, have when you see each other. Like you obviously root for each other, but it's also like, yeah, but I kind of hate you. I'm going to do it better than you. Like,
I mean, I hate this. I want to say that we outgrew this situation, but it hasn't outgrown it yet.
It shouldn't, and it shouldn't.
To a level of golf now that we call each other every time. We're like shoot scores, and their index goes down, and it was like it's just like it hasn't stopped one bit yet.
I mean,
they could tell you stories about us, like when we were living in Chicago, and it was our brothers were older brothers were and we'll be playing like soccer in the living room. And I remember one time, like, I don't know, Jorge got the best of me. I scored or something out of me. And I got so upset that I just pushed him against the couch. I think I broke his collarbone that day.
You think? Yeah, you did break my collarbone.
We are bringing out old wounds here. I love it.
This is supposed to be a fun podcast, guys, and you guys we're gonna sit there and be like the cause of like a familial rift here. No,
no. It's all we know the competition is there, and we're whatever it takes to beat one of each other, we're not going to hold it against each other.
I don't think Alex and they realize that they're going to be our therapist for the evening.
I'm okay with that. Hey, well, listen, we're cool with that. We got a nice little setup here. Podcasts are nice and chill spots. So I want to jump back in, and Ed, I'll jump with you here. So you obviously have, from that spark, you have an incredible career. You run very well. You start competing at an extremely high level, Foot Lockers, going to Colorado national championship as a team there and everything, and really good. What are some of your favorite memories and stories that you can tell us? Again, it's a podcast. You can tell us whatever you want, but some amazing memories and stories, starting from when you got that spark, 7th grade through high school, through college, through pro.
I can remember one particular week. We went out to Stockton, Illinois, and Coach Fed had us run with the team, with our middle school team, MacArthur Junior High. We were training that year to like Jorge and I were poised to go 1-2 in every race, 8th grade year. And we had some other outside runners join us from like Niles North, Illinois, Bobby Bright, a couple other guys, and that were pretty good, like all state. They were going to be top 5 in the state, and our team was there, and we're all training hard and long miles. And we get back. We're driving back to drop off all the kids, and Fed tells us get off the car. We got home. He's like, we're doing repeats, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm tired as a dog. Are we gonna do repeats for now? and he has lined up, and it was like I think it was 8x800, and it was like
In eighth grade?
in eighth grade, yeah. And I was like, I'm exhausted, like, and it was
That
like
explains why you guys were that good.
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, we got online. Slowly but surely, all the guys were just falling off. They're like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I was like, I refused to give up, and Jorge refused to give up, and we just kept on doing it. It was just finally the last two. It was just Jorge and I doing it. And that particular moment, I realized I'm going to get this workout done. That's to prove this guy I can do this. And I knew it wasn't about the time. It wasn't about just like running fast. It was like he's want to see how far deep can we go into the tank. And for that point on, I realized that Fed was there to test us and push us to the limits and have us get to that level of, you just said, Foot Locker finalist, which I didn't know about Foot Locker until I got to high school. I had no idea what Foot Locker was. And then also to go to college and go to, ultimately end up professional runners for a couple of years. If that's what you want to call me. I don't know if I was professional or not.
You were a pro. I don't want to hear. You were definitely a pro. So, and the thing is, it's like we've talked to, coaches and stuff now, and that approach, I don't think would fly. Like, number one, like parents will probably complain because where's my kid? You know what I mean? And then also like to sit there and have you guys work your tail off and then to make you do something like that again, it doesn't seem like that coaching approach is something that a lot of people take anymore. Like for me, for Dave, for you guys, that old school style is like, makes sense. You see kids with talent, you want to push them, see if they have some balls, right? Now you're going to get a tweet or an X or whatever the hell it's called. This coach abused me. And there you go. Your job is done. So it's like, it's cool to hear those old school stories. And I wish we had a little more of that grit, because I feel like there's certain guys and girls right now that we see in running that have grit, and they're the national champions, right? You have your guys, you have Yard Nagoose. Who knew Yard Nagoose was going to become the American record holder in the mile? He was running well in college, but then he shatters Alan Webb's record. That just shows grit. And he was someone, if we can ever get Yard on the show, he's someone that could probably tell us a story like that back in whatever age, 14, 15, 13 years old. My coach pushed me and he didn't cry about it. And that's an awesome thing. 13-year-old telling a 13-year-old you're tired, go do 8x800 repeats. That's like ridiculous. So I
also love how one of your favorite memories is from eighth grade,
getting destroyed.
Like that's just so cool. Like you could have picked anything and you're like, no, I remember in eighth grade, my coach, we came back 8x8. Like that's awesome.
It built the character that we had in us and installed in us. And I think Wetmore, when ultimately was recruiting us, and he talked to Coach Fed and all the other everyone who he talked to about us, I think he realized that George and I were Midwest, hard nosed, just get to work and get it done.
Yeah,
I think Fed. There's many stories we can talk about Fed, and like I told you earlier in the episode here that he was a mentor to Eduardo and I, and Ed, thanks for sharing that story. Actually, that came flashing right back to my head. I'm still hurting from that workout, but
you guys got to Colorado and we're like, these workouts are easy. You never.
That's exactly it. But
we're not doing 8x8.
I remember Wetmore.
Come on, Wetmore.
Telling me a story one time that when after we were recruited and whatnot, and he said to me something. He brought something up like, we had a little bit of controversy my senior year of high school, and we were not eligible to run outdoor track because we ran some races. We'll get to that if we touch it later on. Anyway, Fed told me that, Wetmore told me that he received a call from some anonymous caller saying that we weren't good apples because we weren't eligible to run our senior year, and Wetmore said, you know what? I'll take my chances. He went ahead and signed us anyway. But he talked to Fed earlier, I guess, and I guess he asked Fed, like, what are these guys like? And he's like, I guess Fed's response was, and this is something I heard later on, is like Fed's response was, these guys aren't serious about 99.9% of the time. But when it comes to workouts, the moment the workout starts, it's game on. Their serious face turns on, and they'll get the job done, whether it's a race or a workout. But get them off the track, they're not serious again. So
that's good.
You
So
got to be able to flip that switch. And I feel like that's another thing that's lost in a lot of athletes. And, I'm talking, go back to last week with Peyton Hollis. She was kind of talking about the mental aspect of running, and high school kid talking about the mental aspect, right? When I was in high school, I was just too stupid to know there should be a mental aspect. Like, it was like, toe the line, look at people next to me, try and beat them. Like, that was my whole mental aspect.
Yep.
But it's like, the switch needs to be able to be flipped on and off. And I think a lot of people have lost that. I think in athletics in general, right? Like, you're not just, Jorge and Ed, the runners. You're obviously just two dudes that are really good at running, and you have other things. And I think that that's been lost. And it's like great to hear, like, all right, off the track, we're just having a good time. Once our toes hit the line, I hate everyone else and I'm going to win. Like, that is just the mentality that I think a lot more people need to hear. So, Jorge, do you have any other memories that you want to kind of throw in there? Any other stories?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one to follow. I mean, he went deep into the bolt in that one.
He was ready. He read the itinerary and he was ready.
Oh man, putting me on a spot here, and this beautiful sport of running has brought so many great memories, and to just narrow it down to one would be hard.
You can tell as many as you want. You don't got to just say one. You could throw out a few.
Would be hard pressed. But I mean, I was fortunate enough to start this at a very young age and go through all the way through, I guess as an Olympian. But I honestly, for me, it still goes back to being a team and having the brotherhood or the friendship of a team that I really enjoyed about the sport. And just recently, I didn't get to attend the University of Colorado football game with Coach Prime opening it up at Folsom, but stadium, which is Boulder's CU stadium, football stadium. But a lot of my teammates went back, and I for unfortunate reasons, I couldn't actually, because I was playing golf. There's a major golf tournament I couldn't miss. But
good reason.
Just watching them get together, and it's not just a one time. We get together often, and it's so for me, that friendship that we built when I was at CU, or whether I was a junior high runner at MacArthur or in Wheeling, Illinois, we won the national championship in 2001 as a team, and as a goal that Ed and I set out to do, it's when we were recruited by CU, was to bring home that first national championship to them, to be a part of that, and to have missed out on it the year before at Ames, Iowa, and look at each other in the eye and say, like, gosh, we're so close. How did we mess that up? But then they come back and actually accomplish it because we worked hard and continued to trust each other. We kept on grinding out those miles and sharing those experiences. And Steve Slattery is being Steve Slattery.
Love that guy.
We were all roommates too, so all of us were roommates at the time. So that's what the college is about. Like, you have these crazy roommates and you create these crazy stories. Oh yeah. And I could go on and talk to you about our days at the Fight Club, which is a whole other subject as well. But
we don't talk about Fight Club. First Fight Club, man.
Virtual Fight Club.
Exactly. But it was one of those things. Like, my greatest memories are just a bunch of little minute memories that just kind of get it all together. And when we crossed that finish line, we won by 1 point. And I'm looking at my teammates in their eyes, and I'm like, wow, we did this together. I just want you to do it individually, but doing it together as a team, it's just a really cool feeling. And I still just I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
So
that's awesome.
You both have represented the United States. You both have had the ability to wear USA across your chest and compete, which is just has to be something that's so cool. But you talked about the team aspect, Jorge. How different was it transitioning from college and then getting into the pro setting and joining, a Team USA, even though, XC championships? Was it different with the team aspect there? Because obviously in college, you're rooming with each other. You're with each other all the time. You're eating and everything. And now here you are, a bunch of pros thrown together, go represent the United States at the World XC Championships. How much different is that? Because even though it's still a team aspect, you're a bunch of pros. You're still competing for position. You still want to put on the best races possible. So
you don't train together.
You don't.
No, it's a group together that gets thrown together and go represent USA. It's actually, let's just put it this way. Let's be clear. Wearing a USA uniform is cool no matter what setting it is. I mean, you're representing your country. That's like the best honor you could possibly have as an athlete. And to me, no matter whenever I put that uniform on, it was awesome, and I took pride in it. The teammates that were there next to me at cross country races, I was lucky enough to have my brother be on the same team with me in Edinburgh, and that was like one of the pinnacle parts of my career was being able to wear the USA uniform with my brother. But yeah, no, it's no matter where you are, if you're wearing the USA uniform, it was always cool, and you just try to do your best to represent your country. And I think I would say honestly that anybody on that starting line felt the same way. So, it's different because you're not sharing the blood, sweat, and tears in person, but not to say that they weren't working just as hard in their own territories. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand is that the amount of work that goes behind the scenes to get to that starting line is bigger than most people understand. And most people that run into sport or in this partake in cross country or track is that they can make it to a certain level, but then you still got to grind it out by yourself beyond that to try to make it to the world class level. And that's the part that it takes certain special individuals to get to that point where you're not afraid to step out there on your own and take your own path.
And, and how about for you, Ed, because you were 4-time a member of the XC team. So it's like you became the wily veteran, I assume, towards the end. Like you probably had kids jumping on there looking at you. Okay, what to expect? I'm rocking Team USA at the World XC. And then you were also USA Track and Field marathon team member, which I can imagine being even more lonely because the marathon is pretty spread out in terms of, what everyone's trying to accomplish there. So what was that like? 4 times, that's a hell of an accomplishment. Absolutely. To be, Team USA XC 4 times and also jump higher with the marathon. How was that experience for you?
Well, the experience started off actually in it's one of those things again where Jorge made a team when he was in high school. Mm-hmm. And I remember he came back I remember he got the gear, like the Christmas in July gear, like just shows up to the house and it's like a bag full of like USA gear. And I remember Jorge throwing me a t-shirt here. This is yours. Why don't you use this? And I'm like, I threw it right back at him. Like, I want to earn my own jersey. And I didn't want it. And from that point on, I was like, I want to make a team myself. And I remember my parents, when they wanted to go see Jorge in Morocco, my dad's like, do you want to go? I'm like, no, I'm going to earn that ticket myself. I'm not going to go. I'm going to have you. I'm like, I want this to be earned. So I made a goal to make a team. And fast forward a couple of years through college, I was obviously focusing on cross country nationals and stuff. So I wasn't doing anything post because I was going to go to the indoor season and then track season. So my senior year, I had coming off a great cross country season, and George and Dathan are both out right after the season was over. These guys get hurt, and I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have 2 good guys to train with, and I'm gonna be able to make this team. Nope, I'm not there by myself. You talk about being out there by yourself for like 6 weeks. I'm out there grinding by myself. And I remember the Billy Nelson, Brett Schoolmeister, and Peyton Batliner, I think was some of the younger guys that were there trying to make the junior team. They would jump in intervals and work out with me and just to help me out. But that motivation to make that team was all purely going back to George's senior in high school. I'm like, I'm going to make this team with or without him. I'm just going to show up to this team. And I went to Houston that year. As the national championship was in Houston, and here I am lined up, and the race starts off, and right off the bat, I go up to the front with Meb, Culpepper, Abdi, and me.
Alan
We're up there just running, all 4 of us up there in front. And Bev and Alan kind of separated between me and Abdi. We had like a little bit of space. And Abdi was there with me, and Abdi was obviously trying to drop me and push the pace. I just got to hanging on there, and I think with a lap and a half to go, I realized I'm like, I still have a lot of energy, Like, so I just told Abby, like, all right, Abby, thanks for help. Thanks for the ride. I just took off on them. And it went on. And at that point, I was actually chasing Alan and Med, trying to get a hold of them. And it was a muddy, sloppy mess. So I knew those guys were like track fast guys, and that mud was going to be difficult on them. And I was like always a mudder, you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I was making that move, and like I made that team, and I obviously I didn't catch up to them, but I ended up third place. And I think at Lausanne, Switzerland that year, I was third place. I was a third team member for USA, but making more teams later on. I made to the Mon Jordan team. I'm the old veteran there, and I remember when they were choosing team captains. They nominated me, and I was like, I felt so honored. So I was like, wow, now I became old man now, and now they're calling me the captain over here. And it happened that Jorge wasn't there, and I was, I guess I was one of the, I wasn't the Culpeppers, I wasn't the Abdi, I wasn't the Allen, or Abdi or Allen or Meb, but the team that was there voted me as captain. I was like, I felt so honored for that, and it's like, it's something like I look back at it, I'm like, I guess I did earn it because I've worked so hard, and I've always been in the back scenes with Jorge, Dathan, the bigger guys, like the big names up there. But eventually I made myself up to, I don't know, weasel my way to be a captain.
Hey, that's definitely hard earned.
I definitely want to bring you guys back a little bit. So you're in high school. Was there ever a doubt that you would go to the same college? Like, was there ever like I want to race against my brother, or was it always like, we are a package deal, we're going to go together? Ed, we'll start with you.
I think I'm going to answer this pretty quickly. It was a package deal all the way through.
Nice.
When we were getting recruited, I think one of the bigger things we said was it's going to be out west, so west of the Mississippi, and it's a package deal. So Martin Smith, all the guys, Wetmore, Vindalana, we told them, like, you get two or you get none. So yeah,
and
that's awesome to hear.
Wetmore is obviously a New Jersey guy, which where we are from. So, like, what was, because obviously you guys were, two of the top recruits whole country. Like, what was his pitch that made you guys choose to go to Colorado?
Well, I mean, you shouldn't ask that question because he didn't really have a pitch.
All right. What was his, like, you are coming here and that's it?
No, it wasn't even that. I mean, it wasn't even a phone call.
Yeah, it wasn't even a phone call.
Jersey attitude, like, hey, I don't care. I'm from Jersey. Get your asses here, and then we're gonna win.
I mean, Dave, to be honest with you, it was more of Fed was nice enough to take us out to Boulder. Speaking about stuff they used to never get away with, we'd go on trips in the summer with our teammates, and Fed, who was supposedly in charge, who was probably more of a kid than we were, was
Same with my high school coach.
Would take us to Boulder. It took us to Boulder my junior year, was it junior year and senior year?
Our junior year was our first year, and then senior year we came back.
Heading into our junior year, heading into our senior year. So went to Boulder, and obviously he was kind of like pushing for us to go to Colorado, selling Boulder itself. But we Wetmore being there, he never even bothered even saying hello to us when we were there in high school. And I don't think he could have anyway legally, or maybe he could have, I have no idea. But long story short, our senior year comes around and we're like, okay, we're looking at schools, which ones do we want to go to? We have several colleges calling us and contacting us, especially like the first calls came, I think, in the beginning of July, I believe, whatever it was. And there was not one. Back then you had to call back home and ask mom and dad, like, hey, were there any messages in the answering machine or anybody called? And sure enough, like my mom and dad had a list of a bunch of schools they called, but there was no Colorado. So I'm not like, what gives? What's the problem here? So when it finally came to actually getting recruited, it was actually the assistant coach, Jason Drake, JD, who's a good friend of mine to this day. And he also competed at CU. So he's a part of that big network that we have at CU, CU family. But he's the one that pushed it and pushed to Mark, like, hey, we got to get these guys out of here. They've been here for 2 summers, and they must be somewhat interested in it. And I guess Mark Wetmore's words were, well, if you're interested in getting them, you go recruit them. So,
That's awesome. I love old school coaches. I really do. I love them.
but ultimately, Mark did. He did talk to us and had us, but it was JD. I think that really pushed for us because I think Mark's way was like, we don't have enough scholarship money. I can't afford these guys. Like, it's just like, what's the point of getting them anything? And they weren't. CU wasn't a fully funded program at the time we were being recruited either.
Wow.
So they had like I think they were allowed 12 or 12 and a half scholarships at the time, and I don't know what the exact number was.
You had 8 or 9 at the time. Only
9 or 10 or whatever it was. So it was a fully funded program. So I think Mark felt that it would be an insult for us to even get offers from CU if they were going to offer us like books and a bag of peanuts or something like that.
Hey, books actually are really attractive. Okay, books
nowadays, yes, exactly.
They're not cheap.
No, they're not. But kudos to JD, got us out there, and it worked out. And everything that they presented to us was everything we wanted. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd be there 1,000 times over again. So.
I just love how there was this rivalry between brothers, but the whole time we are going together as one package.
Exactly.
No matter how much that you guys might have fought or as brothers, but hey, we are a team till the end. That is phenomenal. I love that.
I mean, the whole point was like when we got to middle school and Fed had not won a state championship for a team on the men's side, and Jorge and I brought that state championships to the middle school level. Same thing. Go back forward to high school. We did the exact same thing. Wheeling High School hadn't won on the men's side. They won a lot on the women's side. George and I brought the state championship. Beat York High School out of their usual powerhouses from Illinois. Joe Newton and his crew. I had to drop that name because you got to give props to a guy who made Illinois running, Joe Newton.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then we're going to college, and when George and I were like, let's just keep it rolling here. Let's get a national title over here at the college level, and we did. I think
that was one thing that was attractive was that Colorado didn't have a title, and we wanted to. We wanted to, bring home that title for them, and as Eduardo and I, I think that's one of the best accomplishments. We teamed up together as a team, and we did exactly what we set out to do.
I love that supreme confidence. I really love that supreme confidence between the two of you. That if we're together, we're going to deliver. That's freaking awesome.
So, you guys had the same coach for middle school and high school?
So he was our club coach in high school.
Gotcha.
Mark Saylor was our high school coach, but all intents and purposes, year-round training. Gotcha. We had Fed as there, and we had a good, strong group of guys that would train with us throughout the whole summers or winters, whatever it was, when there was in between seasons. Here's how it was in high school. We used to do workouts before dual meets because Fed's like, these dual meets are nothing for you guys.
when you're that good. Yeah.
So we'll wake up at 5 a.m, go work out with Fed in the morning, and then go show up to the dual meet and just run with the guys, just kind of push them and try to get them along.
Did you guys rock paper scissors over who gets to win that race that time?
I never took a win unless I earned it. That's all.
I like it.
How many of those did you earn actually?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I love the brotherly ribbing that is going on here. It is
so I do want to jump into this because, obviously you guys have a ton of successes running, right? But anyone that's been a runner for a long time knows there's a lot of downs that comes with running too. It's not all great. What was it like going through that with each other, going through the successes, being there with each other when you guys did fall short of your goals? And how much was having each other do it through the whole time, through, junior high, high school, college? And I'd imagine you guys still stayed close when you guys were going through your pro careers and probably still trained together, I'd imagine. What was it like having someone there all the time, whether you hated them at that moment or loved them? What was that like, being able to go through that with somebody? Were you guys hard on each other? Were you guys pick each other up? What was that like? Jorge, you could start on this one.
Well, let's start off this way. Eduardo is my best friend. He happens to be my brother. as well. So it's like the coolest thing in the world, best thing you could possibly do. I lived with the guy for so many years, and our wives would probably kind of not like that fact that we were that close to each other because we've been close, but we finally since been married long enough that I think it's the dust is settled. But
the wives are like, all right, guys, you have to.
Exactly. In Boston, I still live in Colorado. There's enough mileage in between us now.
exactly. So, but going back to like the ups and downs and training together and lifting ourselves and sometimes having downs, the coolest thing for us is that we're twins, and there's a connection there that you just can't explain, whether we're runners or just regular human beings just going about life. But twins have a special connection, and that is true, absolutely 100% true. And his pains are my pains, and his successes are my successes, because I just whenever we do something and he had a great workout, I'd be I'd be pumped for him just as much as if I would pump for my workout. So, I felt like he was always there for me as I was always there for him. So throughout college, throughout junior high, throughout high school and college, and even professional, I think I could honestly say that we had each other's back, and it was not just us. We were surrounded by really good people. Steve Slattery was always there. I got even Sarah Slattery, who, I'm glad they married each other, because they're like two of my best friends and they're married together. So when we go see each other, like we go hang out, like I have two friends that I get to really hang out with. So it's
wonderful podcast guests too. They were
both of them are awesome.
Exactly. It's like, and I think that's what's kind of special about Eduardo and I being so close together and helping each other, that I think in my mind, I feel like we were able to like take that aura and invite other good people to be around us and just live that, and continue to grow it, not just from our orbit, but other orbits as well. I just feel that it was special, and we still, to this day, I'm there for Eduardo 100% of the time, and whether it's good or bad, I'm there for him. So, I feel comfortable knowing that he's going to be there for me no matter what.
Ed, you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one specific memory I remember. Obviously, the one thing I'm missing in my resume is the Olympic team, and but it didn't bother me, because let's go back to when Fed was coaching us in middle school, and Jorge was showing success already, and I'm starting to move up and start to show that I'm going to be as good as Jorge, or just moving up there. And 8th grade year comes around, and Fed has a sit down and has right goals for that year going into 8th grade. And I remember Jorge and I were like, yeah, we want to be state champions as a team. We want to go 1-2. We want the conference. And we showed it to him. And he looked at he's like, not good enough. Go back to the drawing board. He made us sit down again, write more goals. So then we're like, we'll start talking about, all right, let's talk about high school. Get to high school, win state championships, win whatever, run fast times, blah, blah, blah. Looks at it, not good enough. And then he's like, that's when I think you first mentioned Foot Locker. And then he's like, there's other things you got to look at college, stuff like that. So we go in there, write down this stuff like that. Finally, like after the third time he shows up, like, all right, guys, enough of this. Like, what I want you guys to do and think about is Olympic Games. You guys are going to make the Olympic team. That's the goal he was looking for. That's the part he was opening up the like our vision to bigger things. And when Jorge made it Beijing in 2008, it was my wife, Linda, Fed, my parents walking into the Nest stadium. And my parents were like just a little bit ahead of us. And it was me and Fed, and my wife was with my parents, and it was me and Fed walking back. And I remember stopping, and I'm like, hey Fed, come on, stop here. I'm going to look at the stadium. And I'm like, you did this to us. And at that moment, I felt like it was not Jorge, just Jorge and running that track. Like, I felt like I was running that race too. And Fed and I both like looked at each other and were like, yeah, we got it. We did it. And we hugged each other. And I was like, if I wasn't a hugger, we hugged each other that time, and we're like, we did it. We were excited. We were pumped.
And that's awesome because that's like the one big race that you decided to go to, right? You're like, I'm going to the Olympics for my brother. Like,
yeah, I was like, I don't know if I can't miss Jorge running the Olympics. I know I want to make my own team, but I can't miss this either.
Jorge excused all the others. He might be pissed at me for this. Like, this one I kind of got to go to. It's the Olympics.
I'm there.
There's a story to that too. So after my season was over in track, and I know George was like really contention to make that team in the springtime. I pretty much became a guinea pig for him. I was doing all the intervals with him and just pushing him as hard as I can, and I would rest on one or two of them and then go back out there and run hard and push him. And I remember he had to do like a Coach Jones, Steve Jones, wanted him to do a fast mile after a couple of repeats, and he needed to break 4 minutes in a mile up in elevation at Fairview High School. And I took him to 3/4 of the way, and I just hit 59.9. And then I was like, you're on your own at this point. And I was cashed. But after that workout, and after Jorge made that team, Jorge told me, he's like, pack your bags, we're going to Beijing. I'm paying for you to go out there. So George paid for my ticket to get out there.
Didn't even give you the opportunity to say no this time. He's like, your ass is coming with me.
He's going. We did it together. We earned it together. So.
I mean, that's awesome. And the thing is, like, that's so cool too, because we've had a few pros on here and a few Olympians, and they all talk about kind of the loneliness of being in the pro circuit. Like, in a way, like, you're now on your own. You're doing everything on your own. You have to find your own coach. If you're lucky enough to have a training team, that's great. And it's like, you guys have at least a built-in duo. And the fact that you guys are like extremely close in talent level and speed in a lot of ways definitely helps. And it's just cool. And I wish more twins were as good as you guys, so we wouldn't have as many pros scrounging for freaking running teams. But that's just it. That's an amazing story, and just
really cool. It's great. And one thing that we can segue into this next subject is that I think the fact that there are teams out there working together now, it's professional world. It's really has helped a lot of these professionals, be able to like have like a core of where to meet, who to meet, and work together, and you're seeing all these fast times, and there's more to it than just that. But I mean, these athletes having the opportunity to train together it's really cool. And Eduardo and I kind of had that in Boulder, but it was still like, it was kind of like you never had one coach. Like, it was like always like trying to find out who's going to be your professional coach. And I remember leaving, and I remember leaving CU. And Coach Wetmore was like, I'll help you out. But it was like never like full 100% commitments. And then I had to like, all right, this is not going to work out. Jumped around. Finally, I said it was Steve Jones. And Steve Jones is, if you guys, those young people out there that don't know who Steve Jones, he's a legend. Steve Jones has held a world record in the marathon. I think he ran, I think, almost a world record at the half marathon, running through for the world record in the marathon at the time in Chicago. And the guy was just a legend. And he was at the same time, he was still in a full-time job, but he was doing all this. So it's so the guy, I was always lucky enough to land on my feet with like really good people. But now you can see that, Dathan's got his own group out there with On.
Oh my God. What Dathan's doing right now for American running is
amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah. And then there's like, Jerry Schumacher, he had this thing for a while. And then, it's just really, to me, that is the one reason I feel that American distance running is really taking off right now. Yeah. Other factors, but that's one of the major reasons. And it's really cool to see. And I'm glad that some people can find a home and actually get the best out of themselves by working together.
And one thing that I'm actually happy about, because after obviously with the Alberto Salazar stuff, like there was a scar, right, with American distance running, because he was producing the best at that time, and then that all went down. And it's really cool how quickly, Dathan has kind of filled that void and is starting to produce just so many incredible distance runners. And it's really, and I remember talking to Dave, because me and Dave were the only two people that wanted to talk track to each other for the longest time, texting, because nobody wants to, and that's why we started this damn show. But it was like we were trying to figure out, okay, like, where do we go from here? Is there going to be a void? Are we going to see a slip? And then like And like you said, there's so many other teams, but what Dathan's doing there is like really pushing the level of American distance running. It's so cool to see. And I love it. So I want to ask you guys. Oh, Dave, go ahead. You have something.
No, I just wanted to bring it back for a second because like we've had on some high school runners and everyone's main goal is the Foot Locker meet. So what is it like to run in that meet, and the fact that you guys are still such huge ambassadors, you know, with Jorge now being named the meet director in the whole Northeast part of it? Like, what does that meet mean to you guys, and how much do you think that meet will just keep growing? And by the way, thank you for bringing it back to being called Foot Locker. Like that is what it's been called. That's what it's always been. Thank you, Hoka, for making this whole thing happen. But I mean, we could start with you, Jorge. Like, what's it like to be now the meet director, and it's now moving from New York to Boston, but to be the meet director of the meet, and you guys, I remember last year, you, Steve, Sarah, just being the team captains for the meet. Like, what does that meet mean to you guys, and how important is that to keep it going and to make that such a vital part of what high school runners can actually do?
Yeah. I mean, that's thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, no, it's exciting time for me. I'm for me, Foot Locker has always has a special place in my heart and in my story of running. From my freshman year qualifying, not knowing what the race was, to all of a sudden qualifying the next following 3 years and winning it.
4-time qualifier. That's insane.
Ultimately winning my senior year. But also getting to share that experience with Eduardo. Another great experience of me getting there first and him rubbing it in his face and then joining us like 3 years. But then I, ultimately also meeting great people at the same time. Like Steve Slattery, one of my best friends, is we met there. Well, actually, we met before that. But we met when believe it or not, we met in Providence, Rhode Island, in the USA TF Junior Olympics first before we met at Foot Locker. But we rekindled a friendship and ultimately ended up at the same university. But Foot Locker is one of those things that I think it's iconic. It's the title that I know there's NXN out there, and NXN has a place in it, but it's not Foot Locker. The individual title that you want to win and you want to be a part of, because it's the history behind it, not just all the names that have come behind it. And I'm just fortunate enough to be one of those names that happened to win it one of my years. But I'm glad that Foot Locker is still around. I'm glad that people still see it as one of the premier meets, and I hope to see it. And I'm part of it now as the meet director for the Northeast, and I hope to see it live for many more generations beyond me, so that they could all ultimately look at the list of names that came before them and say, I'm on that list and I'm proud to be a part of it. What came about, thanks to Foot Locker and Hoka taking a 3-year deal with Foot Locker to continue this and supporting this event. And I have to say, I have to bring up the name of somebody who was the heart and soul of this sport, of this event for the longest time, and just has recently left the organization, is Janine Zox. She was the brains behind the operation for a long time, and I was there from the time I was a freshman walking in to Del Coronado, and she was there smiling and welcoming me because I was a young freshman, to when I was, now a professional, talking as a guest, and Janine having the same smile that I remember when I first walked in as a freshman. So, I give her a lot of credit for keeping this going on. The torch has now been passed, and for me personally, I felt like I needed to invest some time to this event and give back with my knowledge and my experience and share what I can, so that I could continue this meet to grow and become a better event. And I'm bringing it from, I know there's probably not a popular move, but I took it from Van Cortlandt and I brought it up to Boston. You New Jersey boys are probably ready to throw a torch.
Listen, it's not the same Vanny that it used to be. It's not the Vanny that, you guys possibly, I don't know if you guys ever competed at Van Cortlandt. Yeah. So it's not that same Vanny that it used to be. They've made a lot of changes, a lot of construction. It should have been brought to Homedale, but that's another thing there. Homedale Park, the toughest course in the country, voted this year.
Serious Mag says so.
Yeah. But for numerous reasons. I mean, I call Boston home now, so it's one of those things that I felt like living in the area. I want to support the running community here, and there's a strong tradition of running community up here.
Hey, listen, that indoor facility they just built, along with BU and the Magic Carpet, they have two of the most premier indoor facilities.
Right.
I'm okay with you guys giving them a big XC race. They deserve it. They're working hard out there.
Yeah, so I'm glad to bring it up in this area. I wish I could give you right now with confirmation where the event's going to be. I mean, you guys could all kind of guess where we're kind of going, but it's not confirmed, and I'm working hard because this was such a last minute pull, and I'm doing my best to. It's going to happen. It's going to happen somewhere in the Boston area. I have a vision of where I want it to happen, and until it's confirmed, I can't confirm the site yet. But it's exciting stuff, and for me, 4 years of partaking this as a high schooler and coming back every year and talking to the kids, and watching the new generations come over the years, it is still the premier meet of watching the young women and young men, continue on to become stars, and that's just the beginning. Foot Locker is the beginning of it.
When you confirm it, let us know because we'll give it a shout out on the very next show so that people can know where to go when they want to go and watch it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Alex.
So we'll definitely do that. So Ed, go for it.
Ed, you now.
I gotta say, well, one, congratulations, George, for being the regional director. I mean, we had an honor to come from the Midwest with Peter Hinkes was the meet director, and he definitely molded us and showed us, beyond running. He's a good mentor as well for us, besides just making the Foot Locker and being there as a regional coach. But this Foot Locker thing is like it's a fraternity. It's a family. Once you make it, you're part of something for the rest of your life. Make it once or make it several times. And fortunately, Jorge and I have, where we had 7 opportunities between all of us together 7 times we were there. And we were, it's a great honor. And like Janine Zox welcomed us and made us a part of the family and continue bringing us back. And we were honored to do that because we want to make sure the generations continue going and learning how to get there. And you don't have to be a winner like Jorge. I was never a winner, but I was still able to succeed beyond high school and college and, go accept professional, pretend professional, I call myself.
Ridiculous.
Pro, buddy.
But it's one of those things like it's definitely it was a big step for us to open up our eyes to, had the opportunity to compete against the best. And I truly enjoyed it. And if how Jorge just said right now, like he got this thing thrown at him last second. If you know us at the Fight Club, the guys who know us at the Fight Club, the people who know us, if you can have kind of one, somebody to do something at the last second, kind of us to do it. We'll figure it out.
So, the cool thing about Foot Lockers too is like you guys obviously, Jorge 4 times, Ed 3 times. Even if you go once, your name is now out there. Going to Foot Lockers, people, in the running community, colleges, they take notice. To get there multiple times, it certainly helped your prospects on going to a big time college. It's massive.
32 people go.
Yeah,
every year.
It's special.
I mean, think about how many people run cross country every.
It's Dave. Dave, you're aging yourself again. It's 32 back when we were there.
Now it's 40.
Now it's 40.
But except for that, during that era, my
10 now, right?
So my senior year, there's a story about my senior year.
I'm sorry.
At regionals, there was a close tie. I almost didn't make it my senior year. Coming into the last stretch, me and a guy from Minnesota, I can't think of his name, we came in across the finish line at the exact same time. And I don't know if Peter helped me out. I'm not going to say he did or not. I don't know, but we ended up going 33 that year. He brought an extra person.
One extra. There you go.
So it was one of those things like, I think Peter had to make the call and he called Janine Zox like, I can't make a separation between these two. He's like, bring them both along. So we brought 33 that year.
There's probably some clout to being a 2-time.
There was no
guy going
photo
already.
timing then, there was no photograph.
So I'll be remiss not to bring this up. So one of the times that Eduardo did earn the stripes of coming in front of me, and I saw his backside, which is not that great, was my sophomore year of Foot Locker regionals, and I made it my freshman year, and I remember I was like in second or third. I don't know if I gave Jennings, and just the last like 400 meters, I just something just was not hitting right, and I was falling back, and all of a sudden I hear footsteps coming from behind me. I'm like, oh, I know that tempo.
I know that gait. I know that running form.
And sure enough, he passes me. So that's one of the times. It's still fresh in my memory.
Ed didn't want to bring it up, so I'm happy you did. But he was definitely thinking about it.
Exactly.
So I want to jump in to our last thing, because you guys are obviously, very successful racers in the sport. And me and Dave often talk about this, because right now we're seeing a lot more rabbiting, I think, than we've ever seen before. And, one of our former guests who we were honored to have on, Eric Sawinski, is arguably the greatest rabbit of all time right now. Yeah. And just doing amazing things, best pacer. But I want to ask your guys' opinion. And Ed, I want to start with you. Have we kind of lost the tactics of racing in the sport right now, where everyone's just trying to get these rabbits out there? Breaking 4 is almost a joke right now. Like everybody is breaking 4 minutes, and
Dave could break 4 right now. He just came out to the magic carpet out here.
Exactly. But like breaking
about that?
Magic carpet's ridiculous, right? Because every year you go to the magic carpet for the Valentine, and boom, you break 4 automatically, right?
75 people broke it in one
and then
race.
The Terrier a few weeks later, another 30,000 people broke it.
Yeah, it's like the Oprah Winfrey show. You got a car. You
sub 4. You're all sub 4. But so are you seeing a shift in where it's more important to time trial, and are we kind of losing the aspect of racing and just running a hard race?
Honestly, it's like, well, let's just put it this way. It's a revolving sport, and always something gets revolved, and it's coming, look at basketball. Like, it used to be all down and below in the paint and, like the mid jumper. Now it's like you got to shoot from half court, and you got to be making those threes like all the time, right? It's just the exact same thing with track right now. It's like it's all about fast. You want to see fast times, and that's what we're looking at now. We're just it's not about racing against each other. It's not the rivalry. It's how fast can you get out there, and that's a rivalry right there. The time is. Look at 2:11 for the women's marathon. You got to be kidding me.
Insanity.
I woke up. I'm like, oh wow, like she would have kicked my butt pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's like
you brought that up. I feel bad. That is just insanity.
That's crazy.
It's an amazing feat. I just say, no matter how you cut it, whether it's shoes or whatever, it's an amazing feat, and good for her. That's just
it's ridiculous. And I also want to bring up too, because then we see these championship races, and obviously Jakob Ingebrigtsen is a big one, with Kerr passing him at the end of the 15 there. Yeah. And it's like, does that come with, because obviously again he did some amazing things. He came close to breaking the mile record over in Eugene, so it's not like he was on dead legs. But did all of his time trialing, you think, potentially hurt him for racing there?
I think that when you get into a racing, a true grinding race like that,
championship race.
If you're a championship racer,
way different.
It's a different animal. I can tell you right now, like I can give you an example of the CU versus CSU rivalry for football. It's a rivalry game, right? They expected a 3 touchdown lead for the CU game against over CSU, but it's a rivalry game. You never know what you're going to get when you get into championships like that. Like it's going to be head on, but who can hit the hardest or run the fastest at the end is dig in deep. That's what racing is about. And there's not that much of that going on anymore. But you do see it sometimes in these championship races where
we talked about earlier about the grind, right? About grinding it out, like having coaches test you and make sure that you're not a polished machine, but you're willing to get out there in the dirt and get dirty and get the job done. And I would say, Jeff Whiteman a year ago won the world championships. Yeah. He was a grinder. He, he's one of those guys that you just see him. You're like, you can tell that he's out there. His back of his mind, he's like Rocky Balboa, like, he's got the poster up there, like doing sit-ups, push-ups.
Something about those Brits. Those Brits are just all grit when it comes to the, the champion races. Yeah. If there's a Brit in the finals, there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So he's out there, like he's got the vision. He's going to win this thing, and it doesn't matter who it is up front. It could be Ika Valgarouche. He's going to go out there and beat him, and that's that's what it takes to win a championship. You need to be able to grind it out. And no matter what the situation is, whether it's a fast race or a slow race, you got to be in there and give yourself a chance. And, Jakob, he's going to be a successful runner no matter what. I'm sure he's going to have his glory of winning championships, more championships down the road. But there's always going to be that one guy that's going to want to be just a little bit hungrier. And if you catch him at the wrong time, he's gonna beat you. And that's what's beautiful about championship racing. I am not a fan of the fast times, like gunning out for pacing. We're talking about just running fast times. I think it's great that we could do it as human beings. I think a lot has changed. We could talk about shoe technology and all that.
If you want to talk about the tech, go get into it. What do you think about super shoes? What do you think about Strava and all the things that are going on right now?
So there's like all technology. Like again, we have to evolve with the sport, right? But we have to be realistic about what it means. Like we're comparing sports. Like if you say golf, before the modern golf ball, people could not hit the ball far. All of a sudden, now I'm driving all these old guys. Jack Nicklaus like, there's no way I was better than that guy. Like it's like, technology has changed, and we have come in the running world where technology has changed. Yes, the tracks went from being
cinder or whatever.
Cinder, it's synthetic now, and it's now we're made another jump, and this jump has really just erased, I think, just the record boards of what it used to be. And we have to accept that as a community that, maybe the times that like Frank Shorter was running or Steve Prefontaine were running, still have a place in the sport, but it's just, there's no longer, you can't compare him with Steve Prefontaine and the guy who ran in the 90s to the guy who's running now in 2024 with the new shoe technology.
So do you guys sit back and think every once in a while, like, man, I wish I had those super shoes while I was in Colorado, or like, I wish what could I have run if I had these spikes? Like, do you guys sit back and think every once in a while, like, man?
I honestly, I don't. Because I mean, as much as I love the sport and I put my time in, and I enjoyed every minute of it, it is a grind. And for me to think about going back there and grinding it out again on a pair of shoes, it's far fetched. But if you were to come in the beginning of my career, I'd love to see what I could.
I mean, nobody wish I could have an opportunity is to actually train somebody's shoes, because I know it probably would have kept me healthier.
Yes.
It's just the return and stuff like that. That would have been great. Yep. I mean, I remember running, I think Nike Pegasus or something like that. It was the
Zoom Pegasus.
Shoe. I'm like, I don't know how the heck I survive in those shoes. Because
I know.
No, I'll tell you what. I mean, I do appreciate the sponsorship I had with Reebok for the longest time. I was a Reebok athlete for my whole career. Eduardo was as well. But I've got to say, the technology we were running in compared to is now, I might as well have been running in sandals.
Right. But you also don't want to be like the old bitter guy, like, if I had this technology when I was young,
Oh yeah, exactly right.
I'm okay being. I wasn't that fast. I'm okay with it.
I would have run a 3:44 if I, so.
Exactly.
Here's the thing. For me and you as slow guys, we could certainly be bitter. Okay. If we had great shoes, we could be. These two over here that have actual accomplishments, maybe they don't need it.
No. But again, what I like for me, the most exciting part of this sport is when you see championship racing.
Yeah,
I love seeing the Olympics.
Absolutely.
I like seeing the world championships. Whether it's
there is no
track
pacer
or cross country, it's pure racing.
Look at Matt Centrowitz. Probably like the slowest 1500 meter championship time ever, but man, he's an Olympic champion. They let him do it. He ran the best race and he won. And it was a pretty pedestrian time by world standards. But man,
I don't care how slow.
Always going to take.
If I ran 8 minutes to win a gold medal, I don't care what. I'll walk away.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, he will
Skipping down the sidewalk every
champion. Yeah, that's amazing. So before we close out, we're going to ask you two the same question that we ask everybody to end this out. Now, obviously, you guys were both pro runners, and we know one thing about pro runners: they all have to get jobs afterwards, and even during, right? Because pro running is not a lucrative thing.
Yeah, I think the latter is probably the most accurate, even during.
Yeah. So, Ed, I'm actually going to start with you here. If you had a crystal ball, if you had a magic ball, and you could do anything to change this sport, to make it a more fan-friendly sport, a more lucrative sport for the pros and lucrative overall, what would be a change that you would make?
I think the biggest thing right now is, unfortunately, I don't want to take anything away from Eugene, Oregon, because it's it's a
Thank
great.
you.
Go ahead, say it. We all
A great location.
Preach, brother, preach.
It's a great place to host, every once in a while to host a championship, but to have it all the time there, making it impossible for many spectators to actually go watch that race, and just knowing, like, if you say Eugene, Oregon to 90% of the population, they're like, what's up there? We don't know what's up there. We don't care what.
It's cold. It's Britain. It's England of the United States. It's always raining.
So like we're just never going to be able to grow the sport unless we actually expose it at a big scene like Olympic trials and new locations, and push for that to happen. And rally beyond that, wherever city or town that wants to host it, help them host it, rally behind them, because like ultimately right now, I don't want to say the leadership at USA Track and Field, but they have ties to up there, and they feel obligated to do it. Yeah. And unfortunately, our sport's not going to grow because that's just narrow-minded thinking. There's just a situation where people just want to just make it easier. Like, oh, it's by default, we're just going to put it up there. And I mean, like I said, I don't want to take it for Gene because I haven't been up to the new stadium yet. I want to go check it out.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
But I can imagine how. I mean, I've seen it on TV and stuff. But I'm like an old school kind of guy. I love Wrigley Field. I don't need a nice baseball stadium to say this is a great venue, because I love the way Eugene used to be too as well. The old stadium, that was spectacular.
But you're telling me there aren't some SEC schools that are huge track and field schools, like your Arkansas, your LSU, your Florida State. You're telling me they wouldn't love to host it? You're telling me Michigan, which produces a ton of, good runners, and some Big Ten schools wouldn't love to host it? Colorado has a fantastic, there's a ton of, if you're looking at colleges, there's a ton of colleges that would take that on.
And college is a great place to host it. And I think Ed hit the nail on the head. That the love needs to be spread out so that, a kid from down the street here where I live could go and see an Olympic trials and get inspired to be an Olympian, or whatever the case may be. But you said colleges, but I would say put it more into a bigger city.
Absolutely.
Icon Stadium right in New York. It might be a nightmare to get to, but it is the track and field facility first.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So go to Icon Stadium, make that place rock.
Absolutely.
They go to Midwest, go to a city like Chicago, find a place where you can build a stadium, and like make it a Chicago municipal track for most of the time. Maybe host an NCAA championship there once in a while, and then also ultimately bring home the Olympic trials like every third trials or whatever it may be, or the U.S. championships. Just so
you can have the NACAC there, you can have the Pan Am games there, you can have so many games at track only facilities.
Track is not going to grow unless you spread it around so that it's convenient for people to go see. A guy from Maine is never going to go to Eugene, Oregon to go watch unless he's a diehard.
A dude from Jersey and New York is not going to go out there unless I have a reason to be out there, unless I have an athlete out there.
Look at the attendance from the Diamond League this past week. Like,
look at the World
stadiums. That never happens to Diamond League because it's expensive. They don't have hotels. Like, we need more track and field facilities here in this country for outdoor track. We have plenty for indoor. There's nothing really except for Eugene for an outdoor stadium, which
Boston. I mean, I'm going to throw a plug here for Boston.
Absolutely.
There's Franklin Park where they hosted the World Championships '92 for cross, but there's a stadium called White Stadium, which is about to become the home for a women's soccer league. But at the same time, there's a plan to build a track there.
Nice.
So we're crossing our fingers with the leadership here in Boston that maybe they build a facility that doesn't have to be Diamond League certified.
No.
But I hope that's
even if it can be continental, even if it could be a lower. It doesn't have to be a platinum, venue. Even if we could start getting some gold and silver venues,
exactly,
it would bring fans into it.
Absolutely, and that's so you answer your question. It's the sport needs to be marketed so that the average person could enjoy it, and doesn't have to spend an arm and a leg and fly from wherever they are to a connecting flight to Eugene, Oregon, and then spend an arm and a leg staying in a no-tell motel.
So here's something for you guys, and I've said it on the show before. Here's one thing we all know. Distance runners, there's a ton of nerds in distance running, right? A lot of us are they're going to get real majors. It's not like some of the other sports that's like, I'm going to be a business major. No, I'm going to go pro. So they're like, in track and field, you have a lot of that. There's a lot of guys, young ladies that make good money.
They're successful.
Where the hell are they in trying to, and where is their vision? Because running is the most participated sport on the planet. Bar none, there isn't a question. It's bigger than soccer. It's bigger than all that. Where is the vision? Where is the vision for these people going? If we can pool our money and make this a successful sport, this is going to be the most successful thing of all time, because it can be. It really can be if marketed properly.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Olympics every 4 years. The most watched sport is track and field.
Absolutely,
so not even close. So. I think, in my humble opinion, it starts at the top with the leadership, and I think that's where we're lacking. We need strong leadership up at the top, and I don't want to call any certain names, but it's just that's where it starts. You can't gather the community together to support, especially your top earners or top people who are fairly successful in the business world that were connected to the world of sport of track and field. There's a problem there, and I think that there's a short-sighted vision by the leadership, and they're dropping the ball there, and that's
also what to be more like guaranteed money and like things for like a pro circuit here in the States.
That's what I was gonna say, like a promotion
something where like we're gonna get these athletes at these meets, and but also like the athletes have to show up and participate more, and not.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I was at a meet in the spring out in California. I'm not going to say the meet, but I was out there and it was poorly attended. And,
you could talk about the LA Grand Prix. You could talk about it here. We all know. Okay,
yeah. It was like cricket, right? That right there is the issue right there, is that, we went to a bigger city, but I'm in the sports world now, and I work for a company called Global Athletics and Marketing, and we represent athletes, and we put on events as well. And I say the most successful events we've had in Icon Stadium is because we went out there knocking at people's doors to fill in the seats.
Marketing.
See, one of the things I have a problem with is USATF, the governing body, also being the full-on sanctioning body and the promotion of these meets, right? Because then they get to control a ton of it. The reason why boxing has had success, USC has had success, is because they're the promoters, and then they go to these sanctioning bodies in order to figure things out, right? Boxing has to go through Nevada with the fight things, and UFC. Why can't track and field do that? ATL's trying to do something, but ATL is very, they're trying, I guess. And that's
and they're limited. And ATL is, and I have utmost respect for Rich Canal.
I applaud them.
He's one of the premier, New Jersey guy, obviously.
Yes, he is.
We get things done in Jersey, baby.
Exactly. I was fortunate enough to work with Rich for a short while here in Boston, and before he went out to ATL. But he's the kind of leadership we need. He brings in really good ideas and presses those buttons, and there's more Rich Canals out there. We just need to bring them out or give people like Rich Canal opportunities to continue to expand these ideas. And
you want to know what Rich did when he hosted the Olympic trials in Atlanta. He absolutely Houston blew it up, made it huge, and started advancing the Olympic trials. I think Rich Canal hold my beer. Let me do something better for you guys, and he did.
Georgetown guy.
Georgetown guy, right.
So yeah, definitely. I think that all these ideas, and that's part of the goal of this show, is to get these ideas out there and to make them, and hopefully it reaches somebody's ears, right? And because we're just hoping it reaches the right ears, and having prominent people in the sport like you guys on this show is something that is going to help to push this along. And I appreciate both of your candor in being very open and honest about, because I think all of us that care about the sport, obviously, me and Dave aren't pros. You guys are done with your pro career. But man, there's some amazing pros out there that absolutely deserve to never have to work again. That should just quite literally, they should be pro runners and they should be millionaires and they should never have to work again. And it's ridiculous.
But you need to give back. You need to give back.
I'm about to talk. I want
get back to talking in ovals.
Yeah, I want to put that in right now. Like, so when I got done with running and I became USA Track and Field long distance running chairman for a couple of years, I think we need more people to do that, to volunteer and put that effort back in there. And I went in there with wanting to make the sport better, leaving the sport better, and making, opening doors for everybody else behind me. And it's just a volunteer work, but you need to put the time in. Every athlete out there who has benefited from running or done, has enjoyed running needs to go in there. USA Track and Field needs leadership, and we have leaders. We just have to put the time into it. I enjoyed it. I did it for 8 years, and there is a point where I become an old goat. I get tuned out of things of what's going on. And you need to bring a younger person in there to take over. And I think a lot of times people overstay their welcome, and you have to mentor the young groups to take over your position. And I was lucky enough to work with Blake Baldwin, who's director over at Drake Relays, and he's the new men's LDR chair. And I'm glad that I was able to give him that opportunity, and he's now taking over, and hopefully we can continue rolling that way with the younger generations.
Yeah, and what is the problem is there are athletes who get paid, but it's the top 2%, and a lot of them they don't put in the fight to give back so that everybody can succeed.
Yeah, it doesn't mean monetarily. I think ultimately it's more of using whatever it is, whatever platform you may have to help excel the sport. And it could be even in the beginning level of just coaching young kids. That right there is admirable in itself, because you're going to create a new generation of young talented kids. Yep. I coach at a local high school here in Boston. It's and I avoided it for the longest time because I knew I would enjoy it. And it's
addicting. Once you start seeing your kids' success, it's really addicting.
Nothing better.
Yeah, and it's
the best.
It's great. You're dealing with young people who have so much energy and such bright eyes and bright future ahead of them, and just to get them to push themselves. And we might not have the most talented kids in my team, but they push themselves. And that's all I ask. And if I can see a little bit of improvement, that's success right there. They don't need to be gold medalists. That's what's the beautiful thing about our sport. Everybody could have their own goals and succeed and have a great career because they've worked themselves to whatever goal they might have set or success they might have made, whether it was score for your team or win win the conference meet, whatever it may be. But to me, coaching or giving back to the sport is important, and that's one thing that I was fortunate enough to have a lot of opportunities in the sport in this way. But when I old and retired and grouchy, I want to know that I've given back as much as it's given me.
And I think with that, gentlemen, this was such a fun show. I really appreciate you both for jumping on.
Hey, thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, this is definitely going to go in as one of my all-time favorites. I had an absolute blast laughing with you guys the whole time. It's so much fun. So before we get out of here, Jorge, I'm going to give you a chance. Anything you want to give a shout out to? We obviously talked about becoming meet director, but anything else that you want to give a shout out, a plug to before we jump out of here?
Well, the only thing I'll say is if you have a team and want to go on to the postseason, I'd like to see you out here in Boston. Sign up for the Foot Locker Northeast meet and support the event that has showed so many young bright minds in the running world. So love to see you up here in Boston. Hopefully, if you're around, you see me around with running around my head cut off, please say hello. Love to say hello to people.
Ed, how about you? Anything you want to give a shout out, a plug to?
I'm not going to say a shout out. But I'm going to leave by saying what good old Fed used to say: "Happy trails, guys."
Like it, Dave. Anything you want to do before we jump out here?
This was one of my all-time favorite shows. To see two brothers who obviously competed against one another for their whole lives, but were a package deal to college, have stayed close, have stayed humbled. It's an honor to have you guys on. I mean, I followed you guys for ever, and this has just been an absolute blast. So thank you both for agreeing to be on our little podcast, and it's just been an absolute blast.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. I want to just once again say, thank you so much, Ed Torres, Jorge Torres, for both jumping on. Twins that, you just listen to a lot of fun, a lot of success, and obviously, brothers to the core, ribbing each other, but, obviously love each other, and you heard it throughout this. So it was so much fun. Thank you guys so much for coming on. If you like what you heard, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5-star, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals, and we'll be back next week with another great show, more great guests. Everybody, so long.